Oke, kalian pernah merasa penasaran nggak sih apa sebenarnya teori mengenai perkembangan seseorang, or specifically seorang anak memperoleh bahasa itu? Hello, back again with me. This time I would like to present about psycholinguistics. This is a theory about person who uses a language or languages as he grows up. Alright, so let's take a look about the definition. I got a definition from several sources and experts. It said for example, from Garnham, from his book Encyclopedia and Language and of Language and Linguistics. Psycholinguistic perspective on references. Reference focuses on the mental representation and process that underlie people's ability to use language, both as speakers and writers, and as listeners and readers. So from one expert, again, it said psycholinguistic from Ratner. Psycholinguistic is the discipline that investigates and describes the psychological processes that make it possible for humans to master and use language, which is true. So so to conclude all the statements, I make my own understanding about psycholinguistic. I sum up that psycholinguistic is a branch of linguistics that combines language and psychology theory. The language is referred to as the internal structure of psycholinguistic because it is at the part of how linguistic development occurs. Meanwhile, psychology is defined as an external structure concerned with the human mind, behavior, memory, and mental process. So, what is the scope of the theory psycholinguistic that we should study about? So, let's take a look. What is the scope of the theory? The first, take a look at the psycho. In the psycho, it investigates about the mental process. The first, it could be the mind, how the mind grow as the children grow. It could be the short-term memory, also known as primary or active memory, is the capacity to store a small amount of information in the mind and keep it readily available for a short period of time, where long-term memory is the opposite. There's also encoding retrieval mental. As we know, the mental is how does a child's language development and process along with his mental development and processes. That is how the scope of the psycho. And the last is representation. And then what is the scope of linguistic? That it could be linguistic in semantics, morphology, syntax, phonology, and rules. Alright, actually I don't have time to break down all of this, but you can do it by yourself if you were curious, or I will attach a link at the description box so you can study by yourself. Alright, next, what is the primary process investigated in the psycholinguistic? The first, there is language comprehension. At what age do we understand language? And the second is language production. Language production, it is about what age do we produce a language? There are some stages for children to produce a language. Could be babbling stage, if you ever heard that kind of word. Babbling is the stage at which children begin to make sounds. So there's also a stage of holophrastic and telegraphic speech. Okay, I have a paper about this kind of topic. So the third is about the language acquisition. It could be the nurture that plays significant roles in the process of learning a first language and so on. So what is the subdiscipline of psycholinguistics? It could be theoretical psycholinguistics. It's about the mental process in language. For example, word design, it phonetics, syntax, intonation, stuff like phonology. And then development psycholinguistic, the acquisition of the language of children and adults, such as in phonological process, semantics, and syntax. And then the mental psycholinguistic, the neurological, education, and applied psycholinguistic, which is psycholinguistic terapan. So I think that's all about my explanation. If you have any further question, you can ask at the comment. So thank you so much for visiting. See you in the next project.